Let's get into the MKAL spirit with some Go-Go Dynamo kits. The mystery knit-along kits are so exciting because there's so many colors to choose from, but where do you start? What colors are you going to knit with for your Go-Go Dynamo shawl? Well, I'll give you a little taste of what the shawl is going to be like without telling you anything. It's going to be Go-Go and Dynamo, which means it's going to be an explosive, dynamic, really full of energy type of shawl with 2 colors. So I designed this year's shawl to be a really crisp contrast. So there's a lot of close little color interactions. So if you go with a really high contrast effect, like a really dark and a really light, you're going to get super crisp graphic lines. But if you go with something a little more subtle, where the 2 colors are a little closer together, you're going to get a little bit more of a shadowy effect. But it's the type of design that works with solids, it works with speckles and variegated yarns as well. So we're going to take a look at all of our kit options for the Go-Go Dynamo, and you're going to maybe get overwhelmed by which kit to choose. So we prepared a special mystery little collection of kits for you this year from Walk Collection, Punk Rock Unicorn, and Life in the Long Grass. Each of them dyed new custom colors that are a mystery surprise palette. So let's start with Walk Collection. This is the base you're gonna find from Walk Collection. This is called the Clementine Dawn Kit. So this is one of the color palettes that you're gonna see as an option with the orange and the pink, a really light pink. And Walk Collection dyed some new colors. So this is one of the kits you're gonna see, but one of the new color palettes will be a neutral mystery. So if you really like neutral colors and more subdued, shadowy types of tones, then the Walk Collection kit will be filled with neutral types of colors, kind of the opposite of this. So if you really like grays, beige, really subdued, shadowy types of colors, then get that Walk Collection mystery kit, and there'll be brand new colors to surprise your needles as you knit along. And Punk Rock Unicorn, we chose their Soul base for all of our kits. Soul fingering is a really squishy, bouncy, and round yarn, so it's very velvety soft. And this is one of the kits called Clematis Contrast. So this is one of the regular kits that you can get. We have lots of purples from Punk Rock Unicorn. But if you want the mystery palette, the mystery kit from Punk Rock Unicorn is a neon mystery. So here's some inspiration images of where we started with that neon color palette. And imagine like bright neon colors, but at like a laser show. So there's going to be some darkness to this palette to really make the neon colors pop. So it'll be a surprise, new combo, new custom colors in a neon, but at a laser show palette. It's really, really cool, really bold. You really need to be adventurous and love those neon splashy colors for this Prue kit from Punk Rock Unicorn. So that'll be a neon mystery, surprise colors on your doorstep. And our last palette will be from Life in the Long Grass as a mystery palette. This is their singles base. This is one of our original kits that we'll have called Bronze Seed Heads. Bronze Seed Heads for you neutral colored lovers. So it's on the singles base. It's a very lustrous, drapey fiber. And the mystery palette of Life in the Long Grass is autumn inspired. So if you love that changing foliage and that crisp autumn leaf color sensation, you're gonna get a really fiery, vibrant color combo that kind of represents the changing of the leaves. From the cool summer tones that they used to be into the fiery, rustic, warm, inferno types of colors that the leaves transform into. So we have a autumn mystery to choose from, a neon mystery, or a neutral mystery for your color palettes. Now let's get into a lot of the other kits and dyers and different color stories and how to customize your kits. All of these palettes I'm going to show you launch on August 31st. At Stephen Penelope at 4 p.m. Amsterdam time. So we'll have all of these kits available for you, and I put a little document that has photos and the prices of all the kits. So before the kits launch on August 31st, you can click on that link down below to see the whole preview document of all the kits. So you can pick your first favorite, second favorite, third favorite. let's get into it. Let's find our favorite kits. This is one of the dyers we're featuring this year from Italy. This is Dark Omen yarns, and I chose all the palettes from Dark Omen to be a solid with a speckle. So this is one color relationship you can use for the Go-Go Dynamo shawl. Get a splashy speckle for your contrast color and pair it with a solid main color. This is called the Holly Encanto kit. Holly Encanto. Really fun speckles paired with a semi-solid. This is all you need to knit the shawl is 2 skeins, 200 grams of each color. But this year, we're gonna do a mohair dare like we've done in previous years. But this year's a little different because in the pattern, I'm going to specify exactly where I recommend to do a mohair dare. This is totally optional. You don't have to add anything else besides your 2 colors. But if you wanna get into that extra adventurous MKAL spirit, you could just get 1 25-gram ball of West Wool Glow Hair or any other lace weight mohair silk and add a little fluffy accent. It could be a different color, or you could get a coordinating color. If you have a purple going on, you could get a similar purple for your mohair dare. Or maybe I could go really subtle with this, maybe just a peachy. And this could be held together with your contrast color at the moments I specify throughout the knit along, or you could hold it on its own instead of one of the colors. So it's really up to you how you want to incorporate it, but I'm going to give you really detailed guidance on what I do for my shawl. So if you want to add that mohair dare like I'm going to do for my example during the tutorials, then you could hold the mohair together in some sections, or instead of the contrast color, you could do a mohair instead. So you can really spice up your shawl with just 1 25-gram ball. It can go a really long way to add that mohair fluff to your palette. So again, totally optional, but I'm gonna do it. I'm working with this Walk Collection kit, the Clementine Dawn kit, and I'm gonna add this lavender unicorn color. And I've already been knitting with it, and oh, I just love it. It just really adds a soft pastel flourish to the fabric. So I can't wait to keep on going with my mohair dare in my MKAL. One of the other favorite kits from Dark Omen yarns, this one's called Mandrake Hunter. And I just love the moody gray green of this semi-solid. It's very like oil slicked, shadowy hunter green. And I paired it with this speckle that has lime and blue. So again, this is all you need to knit the Go-Go Dynamo shawl. But if I was doing a mohair dare, I would put pickle juice with this. And that could be really cool held together with the contrast color, or even just on its own for some little stripes throughout the knit along. This could be really fun to coordinate with those two. I mean, you could do the Norway as well for a darker, kind of shadowy mohair dare. This is where it gets really fun, where you get to really inject your personality into your palette with a little mohair dare option. Go more blendy, or just go totally super poppy with some aqua blue. So just 1 mohair will go a long way, but the Dark Omen yarn is going to be a really crisp stitch definition for you. And if you haven't knitted with this yarn, it has really generous yardage and a really soft drapey feeling to it. All right, let's move on. I showed you my Walk Collection palette that I'm knitting with. This is one of the other Walk Collection. Most of the Walk Collection kits you'll see are really more of a high contrast, focusing on the solid colors. So if you're picking your Go-Go Dynamo palette or your kit more in the solid tones, you're gonna get that really graphic, crisp, stripy effect. So if we're comparing it to a previous MKAL shawl, you would get a similar vibe to the Starflake in terms of the contrast. It's a really different design this year, but just in terms of how the colors are interacting, sometimes they're close, sometimes they're further away, and you see both colors quite equally throughout the shawl. You're gonna have that similar color distribution for the Go-Go Dynamo. Both colors are used quite equally, so if you have a light and a dark, you're gonna get this kind of graphic contrast vibe for those solid yarn choices. So Walk Collection, you'll find all of those kits on their Cottage Merino base, which is a single ply, and it's one of my favorite single ply yarns because it's a little bit thicker feeling. It's a little bit more plump than most singles. So if you really like that more voluptuous feeling in your shawl knitting fabric, then this is gonna be extra kind of cloudy and plump and not quite as slinky drapey as some of the other bases. So once we've got the Walk Collection kits with the solids, you're gonna find some other really splashy speckles. And I have a really sweet spot in my heart for this yarn because he's from near my hometown in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This is Ross in Owasso, Oklahoma. So from my home state. And I wish he was dyeing yarn back when I was still lived there, and I would have caught the knitting bug even earlier because I just love that vivid, passionate, speckled explosion that he gets with his colors. This one's called Aubergine Fool, and it's a really dark purple with that light speckle. So you're gonna get a really good contrast. This is a really excellent way to showcase those busy speckled or variegated yarns by mixing one of those as the contrast color, but with a really saturated solid. And you're definitely gonna get that kind of a stained glass effect with your palette. And if you're doing a mohair dare, when you have these speckles, these are really fun inspirations to play off of. So you could look at those multicolor yarns and go, ooh, I'm gonna play into those sagey, icy blues. Or, ooh, I'm gonna play off of that purple speckle and do a purple mohair dare. Or one of my favorite accents here, there's a little golden glow. Oh, this would be a really fun contrast to add another little personality flavor, a little spice to your MKAL knitting. So the mohair dare is your opportunity really to take the shawl as wild as you want it, or accentuate that blended beauty to the color combo. This is called La Vie Amber. It's mixing the colors La Vie Bohème and Amber together. And this is another fun way to mix the speckle, and you see a little orangey tone in that speckle, so I exaggerated it with a very saturated rusty orange tone. So all these kits you'll find in the kit launch on August 31st. And I think this might be my favorite from Twisted Ambitions. This one I picked just for you pink lovers. And when you love pink, you can't just go a little bit of pink. You gotta go a full blast of pink, and this pink speckled yarn with the orange and these beautiful golden flecks. I think this just has so much energy and pizzazz to the palette. So it's called the Magenta Glitz palette. Magenta Glitz, I would use the solid as the main color and the busier yarn as the contrast color. It honestly doesn't really matter that much, but if you've got a relationship like this, then I'd go for that multicolor yarn as the contrast color. Now, what would we do with a mohair dare? I would just go more pink. More pink. You can never go wrong with pink. Or another shade of pink. This is the taffy colorway, and this first one is fuchsia. I think I would go with fuchsia and just add a fluffy fuchsia fiber to that blasting color palette. So much fun. Those are a few of the Twisted Ambitions kits. We'll have a whole rainbow palette from them. And then Punk Rock Unicorn, I showed you earlier, that beautiful purple. We're gonna have a lot of purple and really neon colors from Punk Rock Unicorn. Some of them are really contrasty with those solids, and you'll also find a bit of speckles from Punk Rock Unicorn in the kit selection as well. One of my favorite yarns to knit with for shawls because it has that really bouncy quality that crisply defines the stitches. So you're still gonna get a good drape, but this is one of the most highly defined yarns, the Soul Base. Just how bouncy and round it is. It's really gonna make any textures that might appear in Go-Go Dynamo pop out and stand out beautifully. All right, let's get inspired by some more purples. You've seen Undercover Otter before, and we have this at the shop for years and years, and we're just obsessed with this beautiful yak silk blend. So you'll find more of the Eventide base in solid, heathered tones for the Undercover Otter kits. This is one of the more juicy, deeper palettes, and you'll find some blues and some more pinks and some grays and greens as well from Undercover Otter. This one's called Purple Slumber. And if you haven't knitted with the Eventide base, it's really soft and really smooth because of the silk content. It has a really shiny silk strand of fiber throughout all of the yarn. So it really glows and has that drapey, ornate, decorative quality to the fabric. Really slinky and drapey. So that's the Purple Slumber kit. And let's go through some of our other hand-dyed. Those of you that love the singles yarns, we've got Life in the Long Grass coming back again for this MKAL season. And I think I went a little bit overboard on the pink and purple kits this year because I just love all the tones and hand-dyed varieties we're getting from these shades. And I know all y'all MKAL knitters really love the pinks and purples, so I wanted to make sure that you were spoiled for choice. This one is called Lush Violets, a semi-solid combination. And if you're doing a mohair dare, I mean, technically you could tone it down. That would be lovely. But if you're going this far already, you've got to keep that saturation going and maybe even add an orange to it. Oh, that would be really fun for an extra stripe. Or that's the Beatrix colorway in Glow Hair, or the Royal colorway. This is our Royal Blue. Oh, I think that would be fabulous held together with that violet purple. So go really saturated, and you can accentuate your palette even further with that Mohair Dare option. So that's the Lush Violets. And then one of the things I love about Life in the Long Grass are all their melty colors. So my challenge for the Go-Go Dynamo was, how do I incorporate those beautiful Life in the Long Grass variegated yarns but make it work for this crispy contrast design style? And the solution was to pair those really multicolored yarns with something really opposite. So if you have something really busy, get something very solid and really, really light or really, really dark, and that's going to help you with that contrast. This one is called Podzolic Plums. Podzolic Plums. If you were doing a Mohair Dare with this, you could keep it all real dark and moody with the corduroy Glow Hair colorway. I would use the Dijon. This is my personal favorite Glow Hair color. I just need a sweater with this in the future, but there's a little bit of that gold in the variegated yarn, so I would accentuate that, and I just love that contrast. If those are next to each other, that would just be stunning, really deep, really moody, has this kind of vintage, crafty vibe to it, which I really like. So Podzolic Plums, I would put it with that Dijon Glow Hair option. All right, one more for the neutral lovers. I showed you that bronze seed heads. I made sure to put a lot of warm, earthy neutral kits, and there's some really cool gray palettes as well. So every dyer and base you see, you'll find a whole rainbow of palettes in that kit list linked down below. Okay, let's move on to a couple more. Let's do one more hand-dyed brand we're featuring this year, and then some of our new Westwool bases. So this is from Bird Street Yarn. You'll find a lot of blues in the kit selection. This is called Nautilus Quilt. And Bird Street Yarn, this is their BFL base. So it's really crispy, has a little bit of a lustrous quality to the yarn. So it's a little bit of a sheen. Not quite as shiny as Undercover Otter, but not as matte as just the merino yarns. So it has a really nice lustrous tone to it thanks to that Blueface Leicester quality. And one thing I love about Blueface Leicester is these shawls just last forever. You're not going to get much pilling, it's still soft, but you'll get a shawl that lasts a really, really long time. So this is from Bird Street Yarns, and you'll find a lot of fun speckles and coordinating semi-solids from Bird Street. All right, let's round out with some more solid kits. Earlier this season, we debuted our new tricycle yarn, and this is a superwash merino, and it's a very round construction to the yarn. So it's a few plies spun around each other to get this very bouncy, lively twist to the yarn. And this is called the Enchanted Sea palette. So all of the Westwool combos for the Go-Go Dynamo will be these high contrast solid combinations, and you'll notice there's more skeins. So pay close attention when you're collecting yarn, either from your stash, at your local yarn shop, or if you're seeing some of these kits that have more skeins in them, that means that the grams are fewer. So rather than needing 2 of a color, these are 100 grams, these skeins are only 50 grams, so you're gonna need 4 of each. So make sure you've got enough skeins for the yardage requirements, 200 grams of each color of fingering weight yarn. And if you're putting a Glow Hair Dare with this one, you could do a little matchy-matchy with that Sea Mist color in Glow Hair. I might go with something a little different. This is the North Sea colorway, and I like that. It's a little bit in between. It gives you a little more flexibility to mix it maybe with the light color at some points, or you could hold it with the darker color in another section. So when in doubt, you could also get a couple shades of glow hair, but if you're just going with one, you could either go that matchy-matchy route, or you could get a accent new color of your mohair dare. One of the other kits we'll have is the beautiful fuchsia and powder. So for you pink lovers, this is a really fun and I think a really safe option to go for this knit along. If you're a bit overwhelmed by any of the color choices, I think this design really is suited to a solid yarn choice because you just can't go wrong. You're gonna see every little detail in the fabric, really simple. If there's any new technique, you can see all those new techniques easily with a nice, bright, solid yarn. So I love that little pink, playful combo. Two last bases for you. You may have knitted with Holst from some of our previous MKAL seasons. This is a lighter fingering weight yarn, and they're all more heathered shades. So these come in little 50-gram yarn cakes, and this is called Ember Almond. So you'll find a whole rainbow of Holst. It's a bit more of a rustic yarn. It softens as you knit and wash it, but it has a very heirloom quality about the knitting. A bit similar to the Shetland style of wool. It's a bit more rustic and toothy to the fiber quality, and it just has a really harmonious style to it with those beautiful heathered tones. So that's the Ember Almond from Holst. And then one other super soft merino palette you'll find is from Knitting for Olive. We're featuring all these beautiful subdued palettes. If you don't like your fabrics to be too screaming or too bright, then Knitting for Olive is a really nice choice. And both of these options are a little bit more budget friendly than the hand-dyed options. The prices are a little lower on these because they're not hand-dyed. So if you like that more subdued, quiet quality to the fabric, I'd go with those dusty combinations. This one is called the Rose Clay. Rose Clay. You'll get several balls of each color because these come in 50-gram balls. And if I was mixing a mohair dare, I'd do the Rosvita. Rosvita or the Sand. Maybe like a sandy shade. Oh, here it is. I think this would be really pretty and soft and accentuate a bit of a lighter contrast effect. And you could mix that in where I instruct throughout the pattern. So those are some kit inspirations. There's going to be a lot to choose from. If you want your favorite kit, then I recommend definitely showing up on time at 4 p.m. Amsterdam time, Saturday, August 31st, and we'll get those kits shipped out to you throughout September, and we cast on October 3rd. So every Thursday in October, we'll get a new section of the pattern as we discover the Go-Go Dynamo shawl together. It's a really fun technique. There's something different every week in the shawl. So I hope you'll join along and get inspired by that MKAL spirit. So the last thing, those are the kits. All of these kits, there's also going to be some goodies. So you also get a shawl pin. All these kits include some little stickers and a shawl pin for your goodies. So you could pin that on to any of your favorite shawls or your finished Go-Go Dynamo shawl. So yeah, that's a lot to choose from. So check out that document link down below and you can plan your favorite palettes, and I'll see you on the launch, August 31st, and then we can prepare to cast on October 3rd. I'll see you then.